And I was kind of going through a period that I was having a struggle with hopelessness.
When Malcolm Jamal Warner made that confession, the world seemed to fall silent. Behind the dazzling lights of The Cosby Show, behind the familiar laughter, was a darkness the public had never seen. A man who once owned a multi-million-dollar mansion, a prestigious Grammy Award, and a career spanning 4 decades admitted he had repeatedly brushed against the edge of despair. So what lay behind the smile of the once-beloved Theo Huxtable? Was it the story of a star who could never escape the shadow of a sitcom or a journey of rising above himself amid relentless pressure? The answer will surprise you. Hit subscribe to uncover the truth now. A childhood full of shadows. There is a little-known truth to become Theo Huxtable, the boy who made millions of American viewers laugh each night on The Cosby Show. Malcolm Jamal Warner had to overcome a childhood full of shadows and deprivation. Looking at the image of the sophisticated man in a suit on the red carpet, or the magnificent mansion in Hollywood Hills he would later own, few would believe it all started in a cramped apartment in Jersey City, where Malcolm was born on August 18, 1970. At that time, Jersey City was far from the glamorous center of New Jersey. It was an industrial gray place with dusty streets where working-class black families had to struggle to survive. Amid that landscape, little Malcolm's eyes carried an unusual light, a sense of curiosity, a longing to go beyond familiar boundaries. His parents divorced when he was still young, and the burden of the family fell entirely on his mother, Pamela Warner. She was not only his emotional anchor, but would later become the most important manager and mentor of his career. Pamela didn't have much money, but she had an unshakable belief that her son was destined for something different. On long nights in Jersey City, when the entire neighborhood was silent, she would often tell Malcolm, "You can go farther than anyone in this city. Don't let your circumstances define who you are." It was from those words that a quiet fire of perseverance began to burn inside him. Malcolm's childhood was not carefree. He had to face early on the scarcity of opportunities for black children in the American entertainment industry at the time. In the 1970s, 1980s, Hollywood had virtually no space for faces like his young black and from a single-parent family. But Pamela Warner saw her son's performing talent from a young age. She enrolled him in his first acting classes in Los Angeles when he was just 9 years old. After every rejection from countless auditions, Malcolm wanted to give up, but his mother patiently encouraged him. "It's okay, son. One day your role will come, and it will be the role that changes everything." In those early years, Malcolm truly had to learn patience. Casting directors often shook their heads, seeking a more safe image, but the skinny little boy never gave up. Having his mother personally take him to every acting class helped him stay mentally strong. It was a difficult period, but also when his resilience was forged. The way he memorized lines, persistently corrected each gesture and expression, all reflected a rare determination in a child just entering his teens. The name Malcolm Jamal itself holds a story. Malcolm was chosen in honor of civil rights activist Malcolm X, while Jamal was later added by him as a tribute to jazz pianist Ahmad Jamal. A name like a prophecy, both rebellious and artistic. This shows that from the start, the boy carried within him a combination of a desire for change and a love for beauty. Malcolm wasn't just a boy who studied his lines diligently. He also showed an early love for music. He practiced bass guitar from a young age, obsessed with jazz and funk sounds his mother played in their small home to lift their spirits. Music and acting went hand in hand, becoming the twin pillars that nurtured his soul. While peers were busy playing basketball or running the streets, Malcolm was focused on rehearsing and playing music, sometimes teased for it. But that very choice led him down a different path. Malcolm's childhood was also marked by the experiences of a black child in an industrial city facing prejudice, disparaging looks, and being underestimated in school. But instead of breaking, he learned to perform even in real life, smiling, hiding the pain, and turning it all into energy on stage. From his mother he learned, "The world out there can be cold, but you have to build your own fire." In the early 1980s, at just 13 or 14 years old, Malcolm began landing small roles on television shows. Even though they were brief appearances, every moment on screen filled him with confidence. For Pamela, each step forward was proof that their perseverance was not in vain. She often worked like an accidental manager, tracking audition schedules, preparing outfits, contacting acting schools. While many other child actors sought professional management companies, Malcolm had only one but powerful support system: his mother. Those early years were a long struggle against adversity. No money, no connections, only belief. But it was exactly that hardship that made all the difference. It taught Malcolm how to get back up after failure, how to face rejection, and most importantly, how to appreciate every small opportunity. Without that harsh childhood, Malcolm might never have had the strength to become Theo Huxtable, the character who would catapult his name to global fame in 1984. Looking back on that time, many of his later colleagues often mention Malcolm's eyes that were both clear and resolute. They belonged to a child who had tasted bitterness early, yet still held on to hope. They were the eyes of a 9-year-old who cried after being cut from an audition, then wiped away his tears and returned to practice the next day. They were the eyes of a 14-year-old boy stepping onto the set of The Cosby Show, carrying with him all his mother's hopes and a dream of breaking beyond Jersey City. The journey from Theo Huxtable to a multi-talented Hollywood icon. When Malcolm Jamal Warner stepped onto the set of The Cosby Show in 1984, he was only 14 years old. He wasn't a randomly chosen kid, but the result of hundreds of tense auditions. And then the moment he was cast as Theo Huxtable, the only son of Cliff and Claire Huxtable, his life as a boy from Jersey City took a completely different turn. Within just one season, the name Malcolm Jamal Warner became a sensation, and Theo Huxtable became a familiar teenage friend to millions of American households. The Cosby Show wasn't just a sitcom, it was a cultural phenomenon. Across 8 seasons from 1984 to 1992, the show consistently ranked among the highest-rated programs, even topping the entire nation in certain years. Thanks to his role as Theo, Warner received an Emmy nomination in 1986 for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series, a rare achievement for a black teenage actor. To audiences, Theo wasn't just Cliff Huxtable's son, he was the embodiment of school stress failure and teenage emotions. He gave millions of black viewers a positive reflection of themselves on screen, and that was the moment Warner became a generational icon. But Warner didn't allow himself to be trapped by the image of Theo. When The Cosby Show ended in 1992, many child actors of the time faltered, unable to escape the overwhelming shadow of their breakthrough roles. But Warner chose a different path, patiently expanding his career. Just a few years later, he reappeared in a new role in the sitcom Malcolm and Eddie, 1996-2000, alongside Eddie Griffin. Warner didn't just act, he also served as producer and director for several episodes. The show attracted a new generation of viewers, proving that Warner wasn't just a one-hit wonder. His career gradually proved that Malcolm wasn't just a sitcom actor. He excelled in dramatic roles, from Al Cowlings in the People v. O.J. Simpson American Crime Story to Dr. A.J. Austin in The Resident, 2018-2023. In The Resident, he portrayed a highly skilled heart surgeon, a complex role that earned him a wave of praise. From the clumsy boy once seen on screen, Warner had become a mature artist with depth and enduring charisma. Off-screen, Warner poured his heart into music. He formed the jazz-funk band Miles Long, released 4 albums, played bass, and performed spoken-word poetry. His musical peak came in 2015 when Warner won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance with the song Jesus Children in collaboration with Robert Glasper Experiment and Lala Hathaway. It wasn't just a music award, it was proof that Warner was a true multi-hyphenate artist, not confined to a single field. Warner's talents were also affirmed behind the camera. He directed numerous episodes of The Cosby Show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Kenan and Kel, and other sitcoms. For Warner, directing wasn't just a job, it was an opportunity to create more authentic portrayals of the black community on screen. He once shared that every episode he directed carried a piece of responsibility to create healthy role models for young audiences. And it didn't stop there. In 2024, Warner launched the podcast Not All Hood with Wusi Baraka and Candace Kelly. This wasn't just another entertainment show, it was a space for honest conversations about mental health, love, and the black experience in America. In a Hollywood often drawn to glamour, Warner chose to tell real stories, diving into silent struggles that few dared to address. The podcast quickly gained traction, praised for its candor and humanity. Over 4 decades, Warner has proven himself to be a true Renaissance man, actor, musician, poet, director, producer. He didn't need scandals to stay in the spotlight, he maintained his name through consistency and artistic dedication. From his Emmy nomination in 1986 to his Grammy in 2015, from blockbuster sitcoms to tearful dramas, from funk bands to community podcasts, Warner has built a wide-ranging and resilient career. Looking at his resume, it's easy to be impressed by the numbers: over 40 years in front of the camera, dozens of roles in film and television, 4 music albums, 1 Grammy win, multiple NAACP Image Award nominations, and a net worth estimated between $6 and $10 million. But beyond the numbers, what makes Warner truly remarkable is how skillfully he has evolved with each stage of life. From teen heartthrob to dramatic actor to cultural voice, he has transformed without ever losing himself. And perhaps the moment Warner stood on the Grammy stage in 2015 holding up the Golden Trophy was the clearest affirmation of all the boy who was once rejected in Los Angeles had truly triumphed. Not just triumphed in Hollywood, but over prejudice, doubt, and the whispers about child actors who burn out too soon. Malcolm Jamal Warner proved he is a true artist, one who constantly evolves, constantly creates, and always stays true to himself. The business secrets behind a $10 million fortune. Behind the image of the naive Theo Huxtable on screen, or the romantic man holding a bass guitar in the Miles Long Band, Malcolm Jamal Warner is also a silent millionaire, someone who knows how to turn artistic spotlight into a stable financial foundation. In a world where many Hollywood stars once earned tens of millions only to go broke through reckless spending, Warner chose a surprising path: careful business decisions, wise investments, and enjoying luxury within safe limits. By 2025, his net worth is estimated to range between $6 and $10 million. This figure may not be headline-grabbing in the 100 million bracket, but it's the sustainability that's truly impressive. Warner's income streams are diverse: television and film salaries, royalties from The Cosby Show, a series that's been in reruns for over 4 decades, music revenue from Miles Long, and the performance fees that followed his 2015 Grammy win for Jesus Children, which saw him share the spotlight with Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway. Unlike many artists who dive into risky ventures like tech stocks or cryptocurrency, Warner sticks to a philosophy of invest in what you understand. He pours his money into real estate, a market that's always hot in Los Angeles. From a $6 million mansion in Hollywood Hills, a $4.8 million home in Studio City, to a $3.5 million villa in Encino, Warner doesn't just buy to live, he sees these properties as treasure vaults preserving long-term value. With California's surging real estate market, his property portfolio alone offers enough assurance for his family's future. In addition, Warner is known for his luxury car collection valued at over $1.2 million. A Rolls-Royce Dawn for red carpet events, a Ferrari 488 GTB Spider for the thrill of speed, and a Range Rover Savato biography for daily fatherly duties. Each vehicle is not only a passion, but also a badge of honor, allowing him to present himself to the public with the composure of a seasoned Hollywood star. What sets Warner apart isn't how wealthy he is, but how he manages that wealth. In interviews, he once said, "I don't want my daughter growing up reading stories about her father going bankrupt. I want her to see me as a man who lived responsibly." And indeed, in a Hollywood where many of his peers, from former NBA stars to fellow actors, have gone bankrupt, Warner stands as a model of how to turn talent into a comfortable life without falling off track. To Malcolm Jamal Warner, the $10 million isn't merely a number on a financial report. It's a testament to a philosophy to make art that nourishes the soul while remaining clear-eyed enough to turn the spotlight into steady income. That's why when people mention him, they don't just recall an actor or a musician, but also the image of an artist-entrepreneur, a man who lives richly without flaunting it. Million-dollar mansions, and Malcolm Jamal Warner's refined lifestyle. If the $10 million net worth is proof of Malcolm Jamal Warner's business savvy, then his real estate portfolio is where he sketches his portrait as a refined man, an artist who knows how to enjoy luxury while valuing privacy. The homes he's owned are not merely assets, but spaces that reflect his soul, places where he finds balance between Hollywood's noise and the quiet moments shared with family. The crown jewel of Warner's properties is undoubtedly the Hollywood Hills mansion, valued at around $6 million. Hollywood Hills has long been a sacred ground for artists, where homes aren't just multi-million-dollar estates, but status symbols. Warner's mansion sits high on a hillside, offering a sweeping view of the glittering lights of Los Angeles. Inside, the open layout features a lofty living room, floor-to-ceiling windows that let in natural light, and a sleek modern kitchen with granite countertops and walnut cabinetry, where Warner often cooks simple meals for his family. The standout feature a long infinity pool facing the city, a scene that captivates anyone who steps foot in the home. This house is not just a place to live, but a testament to how far a boy from a cramped apartment in Jersey City has come. Not far from Hollywood Hills, Warner also owns a $4.8 million home in Studio City. If Hollywood Hills represents sophistication, then Studio City reflects his family man side. The home is designed in a modern minimalist style with clean lines, neutral tones, and an open layout seamlessly connecting the living room, kitchen, and garden. The emerald rectangular pool and spacious outdoor BBQ area make it ideal for hosting friends, colleagues, and small family gatherings. Studio City is a quiet haven for many artists, and Warner chose it as a way to maintain just the right distance from the chaos of central Hollywood. Additionally, Warner owns the Encino Cozy Retreat, valued at around $3.5 million. This home isn't as flashy as the Hollywood Hills mansion, nor as contemporary as Studio City, but it offers warmth and intimacy. Encino is known for its tree-lined streets, safe neighborhoods, and relaxed atmosphere. For Warner, it was the place to return to after long days on set. The interior features warm wooden tones and a quiet reading room where he would often read scripts or write music. Encino was his sanctuary for spiritual balance, a base camp for recharging before diving back into the hectic pace of work. What stands out in Warner's real estate choices is the diversity of purpose. Each home varies not only in value, but also in meaning. Hollywood Hills symbolizes success and stardom. Studio City represents community and family, while Encino is a refuge for the soul. This selection mirrors who Warner is: both an artist who thrives under the spotlight, a father who cherishes home life, and an individual who needs solitude for himself. Most notably, the property Warner called home in his final years was the Studio City house where he lived with his wife and daughter since 2018. Nestled behind hedges, unassuming and not overly extravagant by Hollywood standards, the home offered comfort and privacy. It's where he hosted warm birthday parties where his daughter could run around the yard without paparazzi interference. When Warner passed away in 2025, this home became the final stop on his journey and the place where simple family memories were made. From a financial perspective, these homes were wise investments, forming a major component of his $10 million fortune. With Los Angeles property values rising an average of 7–10% annually over the past decade, Warner's real estate holdings alone secured his family's long-term finances. But the true value lies beyond money. To Warner, real estate was a life screenplay, each home a chapter, a puzzle piece tracing the path from Jersey City boy to Hollywood star. The media once dubbed Warner's homes mansions of balance, not because of their opulence, but because of his choices. He didn't chase $20 million mega mansions to prove status. Instead, he selected spaces that were elegant, comfortable, and private. This was also the essence of his lifestyle: wealthy, but never showy; successful, but never boastful, always knowing where to draw the line. In looking at Jamal Warner's real estate portfolio, one sees more than just money. One sees a philosophy of living. A philosophy he followed throughout his career, not to be the richest, but to be the wisest. And when the stage lights dimmed, those homes remain tangible legacies of an artist who lived fully and beautifully in the ever-shifting world of Hollywood. Secret romances and a private life beyond the spotlight. In a Hollywood where romantic scandals are often wielded as tools to stay in the limelight, Jamal Warner chose the opposite path, guarding his private life, sharing just enough for the public to see that he too was a man with joys and heartbreaks. Throughout the early years of his career, Warner was closely associated with a deep, meaningful relationship with Michelle Thomas, the actress who played Justine Phillips on The Cosby Show. They were together from the late 1980s, both in their early 20s, and became a beloved couple among fans. But tragedy struck in 1998 when Michelle passed away at the age of 30 due to stomach cancer. Warner was by her side in her final moments, a memory etched deeply in the minds of their friends and colleagues. Her passing left a wound that never fully healed, and years later, Warner still called Michelle the greatest love of my life. After that loss, Warner was in a quiet 7-year relationship with actress Karen Molina White. It was a low-key love, never flashy, but also one that didn't end in lasting commitment. He later dated Oscar-winning actress Regina King for about 2 years. The two often appeared together at public events, becoming one of Hollywood's celebrated Black power couples at the time. However, their breakup was peaceful, no scandal, no public feud, simply a parting of ways on divergent life paths. Unlike many stars who stay in the public eye with high-profile romances, Warner later chose to close the door on his private life. He secretly married a woman outside the entertainment industry. Her name, image, and background are all carefully guarded. The only public detail known is that they have a daughter born in 2018, and from that point on, Warner entered a new chapter putting family first. On social media, he rarely shared photos of his wife and child, occasionally posting symbolic glimpses, a small hand in his sunlit corner of the garden. Just enough for fans to feel his quiet happiness, but never enough to intrude on his family's privacy. What stands out is that despite his discretion, Warner never shied away from speaking about his role as a son, especially his deep bond with his mother Pamela Warner, who remained his unwavering foundation. He often shared that every success, every milestone, and every ounce of resilience he had came from her. Even after achieving fame, he kept the habit of calling his mother daily, discussing major decisions, and always showing her the utmost respect. To Warner, Pamela was not just his mother, but the silent producer of his life story. In his personal life, Warner did not chase after lavish pleasures like many of his peers. He loved music reading and quiet evenings with his family far more than noisy parties. Those close to him described him as warm, elegant, but quite reserved, a man who knew how to balance two worlds: public life and personal space. Looking back, Warner's romantic journey spanned a full spectrum of emotion, a passionate but short-lived love with Michelle Thomas, long but incomplete relationships, and finally quiet joy within a small family circle. To him, privacy was not for show. It was a form of protection, for memories, for love, and most importantly for the people he held dear from the harsh glare of showbiz. That is why when people remember Malcolm Jamal Warner, they don't just remember an actor, a musician, or a director. They also remember the image of a family man, quiet yet profound, devoted to those he loved and always true in matters of the heart. A mysterious and controversial death. Malcolm Jamal Warner's life seemingly settled into a peaceful rhythm with his small family suddenly turned to a dark chapter one day in July 2025. News spread rapidly across headlines, leaving the public stunned. The star of The Cosby Show, a man who had just turned 54, had passed away unexpectedly while vacationing in Costa Rica. His death was not only a shock to the entertainment world, but also left a deep, sorrowful void in the hearts of those who had grown up with the character of Theo Huxtable. What made Warner's death even more haunting were the unclear details, the unanswered questions, and the ongoing controversies that followed. According to the official report from local authorities, Warner was involved in an incident on the afternoon of July 20, 2025, while swimming at Playa Cocos Beach in the Limon region. Though a popular destination for international tourists, the area is known to have strong rip currents. Witnesses reported that Warner was pulled into a powerful undertow, lost control, and quickly submerged. Despite rescue teams' best efforts, including over 45 minutes of CPR, Warner did not survive. The cause of death was determined to be drowning due to asphyxiation and brain trauma from oxygen deprivation. But the story didn't end with grief alone. Just days later, rumors and theories began to swirl. Some tabloids suggested Warner may have been suffering from a long-term undisclosed illness, possibly explaining his apparent health decline in recent months. Other sources questioned the beach's safety protocols. Why weren't there adequate warnings for tourists, especially since Playa Cocos had a history of similar accidents? The more questions arose, the more mysterious his death seemed. Some even speculated that Warner had shown signs of emotional exhaustion. His 2024 podcast, Not All Hood, often tackled mental health issues and the pressures faced by Black Americans. Certain excerpts where he spoke of fatigue and the feeling of carrying the weight of a whole community were resurfaced as possible indicators of a silent inner struggle. Though no evidence confirmed that his death was linked to depression or suicide, the speculation left a lingering unease. Warner's family, especially his wife, was thrust into a media storm amid their grief. In a brief statement, they affirmed that his death was simply a tragic accident and asked the public to respect their privacy. But the media was relentless. Sensational headlines spread beneath the rip current. The untold story of Malcolm Jamal Warner's death. Cosby Show star. Gone accident or something more. Public discourse became entangled in unverified narratives, turning his death into an endless topic of debate. Meanwhile, Warner's colleagues and friends chose to remember him with respect. Many celebrities who had worked with him paid tribute on social media, calling him a kind big brother, a calm and compassionate artist. NBC aired reruns of The Cosby Show as a tribute, while fan communities across the U.S. organized outdoor screenings to honor his memory. The collective mourning revealed that Warner was more than just an actor. He was a cherished piece of childhood, a source of joy for millions of American families throughout the 1980s and 90s. Still, the echoes of controversy remained. A group of lawyers in Costa Rica called for a deeper investigation into Playa Cocal's safety standards, citing a lack of proper warnings and inadequate rescue resources. Others argued that Warner was simply the victim of a natural accident, and that speculating only deepened the family's pain. To date, no new conclusions have been announced, but the shroud of mystery surrounding his death continues to weigh heavily on many. Perhaps it is this very ambiguity that turned Warner's death into an open wound in the public's heart. He left at the peak of his career still acting, still making music, and only just beginning to fully embrace fatherhood with his young daughter. His passing didn't just take away an artist, but left behind unanswered silences, gaps that prompt reflection. Perhaps even the strongest icons can be brought down by life's most fragile moments. In the memories of fans, Warner will always be tied not only to the laughter of The Cosby Show, but also to a sudden, uncertain ending. It made his public image a paradox, a man of deep resilience in life, yet someone who departed under the shadow of vulnerability and unpredictability. And perhaps it is this very contrast that makes his story so haunting, leaving not just grief, but a lasting sense of unease. A multifaceted legacy, artistic and deeply human. The sudden passing of Malcolm Jamal Warner marked the end of a 54-year journey, but it did nothing to erase the mark he left in the hearts of audiences. Rather than being remembered merely as a sitcom star of the past, Warner departed with a legacy that was multifaceted, artistic, human, and profoundly personal. When speaking of Warner, the first thing that comes to mind is undoubtedly the character of Theo Huxtable. Over 8 seasons of The Cosby Show, 1984, 1992, Theo became a childhood companion for millions of American viewers. More than just a clumsy teen who often argued with his parents, Theo was a symbol of growth and familial love. For Black audiences, the character meant even more. It was the first time they saw a well-educated, close-knit, and warm Black family portrayed authentically on television. It was a cultural milestone, one that reshaped perceptions of minority communities in popular media. But Warner didn't allow his career to be anchored solely to Theo. He continued to evolve, taking on diverse roles from serious dramas like The People v. O.J. Simpson and The Resident to the sitcom Malcolm and Eddie. When he wasn't in front of the camera, he explored directing and producing, creating episodes that helped shape the childhoods of a whole new generation through shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Kenan and Kel. Warner's tireless reinvention became an essential part of his legacy. Music, too, formed an irreplaceable pillar of that legacy. Through his band, Miles Long Warner immersed himself in jazz and funk, blending instrumentation with spoken-word poetry. The moment in 2015 when he stood on the Grammy stage alongside Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway, holding the Golden Trophy for Jesus Children, that was the moment he proved Warner was not just a sitcom actor, but a genuine artist, versatile, original, and without limits. Yet perhaps the most meaningful part of his legacy was how he chose to use his platform to spark important conversations. In 2024, he launched the podcast Not All Hood, discussing mental health, love, and the Black experience. In a society where such topics still carried stigma, Warner used his voice to encourage dialogue and healing. This portion of his legacy may not have come with awards or acclaim, but its impact was lasting proof that an artist can help shift public consciousness. Beyond art and activism, Warner also left behind the image of a devoted family man. Though he had experienced several public relationships, he ultimately chose peace and privacy with his wife and young daughter. In the few photos he shared, there were only simple moments, a small hand in his or a sun-drenched corner of their backyard. These quiet snapshots spoke louder than headlines. Warner valued love and connection more than fame or flash. Altogether, his legacy is not something easily summed up in a few lines. It lives in childhood memories of Theo Huxtable, in the resonant sound of Miles Long, in his integrity, when he refused stereotypical roles, and in the heartfelt conversations of his final podcast. Warner may have passed on, but what he left behind is not measured in awards or assets. It's found in the way he lived, resilient, gifted, and full of heart. And for that reason, no matter how much time passes, whenever The Cosby Show is re-aired, or one of his jazz tracks begins to play, audiences will remember Malcolm Jamal Warner wasn't just a star, he was an artist who lived fully and left an indelible imprint on the hearts of many. Malcolm Jamal Warner is gone, but his performances, his music, and the everyday stories of his life continue to live on. From a boy in Jersey City to a global star from the laughter of The Cosby Show to the quiet reflections in his final podcast, his journey paints the portrait of a truly memorable artist, multi-talented, principled, and profoundly human. If you've ever laughed, been moved, or seen a part of yourself in his journey, leave your thoughts below and share this video. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you can continue discovering more behind-the-scenes stories with us.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.